Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming back for another Empires Comics live interview here on Google Hangout. This month, we have a very special guest, somebody who I have been trying to get into the shop or on the Google Hangout. This month, we bring you Kelly Sue DeConnick. Thank you very much for coming and joining us on this Google Hangout, Kelly.
For being on here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So one thing I like to do when we're doing Google Hangout is I always like to take a peek behind you to see what kind of a work environment you have, where it is that you do your writing. And can I assume that this is where you do all of your writing?
Yeah, this is my desk. You're in my office, which I share with Lauren Stankovich. Say hello, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren. Hello. Sorry, I was eating.
Who we call Snake, who is our in-house editor. And hey, Kit, you want to come say hi?
Now, you've got a wall full of books back there. Is that reference material? Is that stuff that you are personally reading? And
Hi.
Hey, Kit.
Hey, Kit. Hey.
So the stuff back there, is that reference material? Are those favorite books of yours?
It's a lot. It's some of all of those things. It's 4 bookshelves, floor to ceiling. So it's a lot of, I don't think you can, let's see if I can do this without, I mean, it goes the whole length of the office. It's,
Wow.
yeah, so.
There is a skull over there.
Yes, there's several skulls. There's a rabbit skeleton. Can you see?
Yes, that actually has some relevance.
Yes.
Now, did you get that skeleton before or after Pretty Deadly?
After. It was a gift because of Pretty Deadly.
Okay, that's cool. That is very cool.
So before we get to where you are with Pretty Deadly, Bitch Planet, let's go back for a moment. Let's talk about how you got to where you are today, what it is that brought you here. So one of the first things that you did was actually adaptations for manga, correct?
Yeah, I did the English adaptations of Japanese and Korean comics. So in games they call it localizing, although I don't tend to use that term because I tried not to localize. But yeah, my job was to take the translation, to work with translators, to take the translation and make it read like fluent English, to give the characters specific voices, and it was a great exercise for someone learning to write comics, because I ended up writing something like 11,000 pages of dialogue over the years that I did it, and it was the kind of thing where when you're doing when you're going from Japanese to English, you need to make sure that you're bearing in mind the size of the balloon and the Japanese is oriented vertically, English is oriented horizontally, and you don't want to make the balloon any larger. You're going to be covering art. So you really have to use the fewest words possible to get the sentiment across in a naturalistic way, in a way that is specific to that character. You also need to use the shortest words possible, which is an interesting way to think about language. It was a really good dialogue boot camp, I think.
So is something manga that you had read and something that you had enjoyed, or was this just kind of a foothold into the industry?
No, I got into it because I mean, I had read some manga, and I'd lived in Japan as a little girl, but I started Jamie Rich, who used to be he was editor-in-chief at Oni Press, and now he's over at Vertigo. He was a friend of mine. He was doing some of it, and they were looking for someone to do a book called Demon Diary, and they wanted a Princess Mononoke feel to it. And I had told Jamie that I had done some research for Gaiman on American Gods. I told Jamie that I'd worked with Gaiman, which what I'd done was made 2 phone calls for him. And so they wanted somebody who could do the Mononoke tone. And Jamie was like, oh, I think my friend Kelly Sue worked with Neil Gaiman. And I was like, yes, I did. And that was enough to get me a tryout for it. And that got me the job, and then work begets work.
Okay, so then even before that, you had been doing things within the industry.
I was a reader, and I had done like a little bit of writing for a couple of sites here and there. And I don't think I had done any short stories at that point. I'm not entirely certain of that, but I don't think so.
Okay, and well, what was it that finally got you the break after manga? Because, I mean, a lot of people think of them as their comic books, and manga are completely different.
Now those people are wrong. Bless them. But it's all telling stories with words and pictures. It's all sequential art. There are stylistic differences, but comics is comics, no matter what language you speak. And people are tribal, and people will try to set up walls and gates wherever they can. But that's false. It's not there. So, but what got me from being an adapter into doing original work was I did some short stories here and there. First big break I think I got was co-writing 30 Days of Night, Eben and Stella with Steve Niles. And it was a 5-issue mini. I learned a lot on that.
Okay, so just getting the short stories out there and slowly moving forward. We actually just had someone ask a question. Evidently, you translated Barbarella, or adapted. How did you get that? Because I love that movie. So much fun.
That I did fairly recently, and that was the first job like that I'd done in years. And Humanoids reached out to me for it. I'm not sure why. I don't know how I came to their attention, but yeah, they asked, and I loved the book, so I wanted to do it, and it was partly, all of these things are all selfish actually, but it was particularly selfish in that I can read French, but I'm slow and the second volume had never been done in English, and so I wanted to read the second volume. So
Awesome.
Yeah, so I got to write the English adaptation of the second volume, so that was pretty great.
That is pretty cool, actually, and thank you for doing it. Are you a fan of the movie at all?
Yeah, sure. More the comics than the movie, but sure.
Okay, well, let's talk about then, you did a bunch of short stories, and before long you were over at Marvel Comics, where you made quite a splash with Captain Marvel, coming on with her changing her...
There was a lot at Marvel before Captain Marvel. I didn't come into Marvel with Captain Marvel.
Okay, well, why don't we talk about...
I did short stories for anthologies. In fact, one of the people who hired me at Marvel was that lady, and then I got to return the favor. But I did short stories. I did single issues. I did a 5-issue mini. All of that before Captain Marvel.
Okay, and Okay, well, what are some of the titles then that we're talking about?
I did Osborne, Evil Incarcerated was the 5-issue mini, which I did with Emma Rios, who we later went on to do Pretty Deadly together. I did Girls Night In with Brad Walker. That was the one. It's Brad Walker, right? It is Brad Walker. That was the one that, thank you.
That's a little strong.
Okay, good. I like it. Oh, it's good. It's yummy. Yay, tea.
You were hoping to get some of that earlier.
I was very lucky. There's a lot. What other short stories did I do?
You did a bunch of stuff for the Women of Marvel.
Oh yeah, I did the Satana story for Women of Marvel.
You did Rescue and Sif.
I did the Rescue one shot and the Sif one shot for the Women of Marvel initiative.
And you also did a Captain America related one shot.
Oh right, Captain America and the Secret Avengers.
It was Sharon Carter and Black
yeah. And then and there was a short story Jamie McKelvey and I did together too. It was it was a Black Widow short story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I did a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, did you talk about Avengers Assemble?
No, Avengers Assemble came after Captain Marvel, didn't it?
I guess maybe it did.
I think it did.
It came after the first arc.
Yeah.
Okay, and you actually did some work over at DC too. Did that come before Marvel, or was that just kind of during?
It was after Marvel, but before Captain Marvel. I did the 3 issues of Supergirl. And then I've done a couple of, no, maybe just one. I did 3 issues of Supergirl, Superman short with Valentine DeLandro. And then I was invited to do a Batgirl 66 thing once, but I never managed to make it happen. My schedule was kind of crazy. I could never really find a window for it.
Okay, and that Superman you mentioned, was that the first time you worked with him before Bitch Planet?
I'm trying to think, because we also did, Val and I had an opportunity to do a few shorts together for other people, which was a great opportunity to kind of practice working together. We also did a short for Dynamite that was Red Sonja. I feel like there might be one more, but those are the only 2 that are springing to mind.
So going straight into Bitch Planet, did you know, having worked together, that this was going to be the artist that you wanted?
Oh, I mean, Bitch Planet was only ever conceived for Val. So I met Valentine at Fan Expo in Toronto. I can't remember what year it was, but we met and got along, and I loved his work, and we knew we wanted to do something together at that point. And so it was just kind of looking for what was an opportunity that would work for both of us. It was something we both wanted to do, work for both of our calendars. And we couldn't really ever make anything work. We did a couple short stories here and there. And then Val was like, we don't have to wait for them to give us something. We could just do something together, creator owned. And I was like, seriously? And yeah, and he was like, yeah, that'd be good. And so we started. I sent him a list of ideas I had, and Bitch Planet was on that list. And he was like, I like this one, and I like this one, but the one I'm really responding to is this Bitch Planet. And I was like, all right, Bitch Planet it is. We started to develop it. Pretty Deadly came out and did better than it was expected to do. And Eric Stevenson said, what's next? And I said, Val DeLandro and I have been working on this thing called Bitch Planet. We could change the title if you want. And Eric was like, no, I would very much like to publish something called Bitch Planet. And that was that.
Okay, and here we are. It's doing very well, at least, here in the shop it is. Single issues are doing great. But just like all Image titles, the trade paperbacks are hard to hold on to. Every time we get in a shipment, they're constantly flying off the shelf. Now, is that...
That's great to hear. Yeah, we are so bad at maintaining our schedule on the single issues. And I feel like I owe a personal apology to every retailer who supports the book. There are always good reasons. We never take it lightly, but it happens frequently with us. And it has not hurt the sales on the single issues the way it should. And I am eternally grateful to the retailers and to the readers for that. But I know that having the back matter, the significant, like 14 pages of really high quality back matter, I think helps with that. But we're very grateful for that support.
Yeah, that is excellent. The Image as a whole, like I said, tends to sell in the trade paperback market like through the roof. Now, that's got to be rough for a creator like you, because even though people are buying single issues, a lot of people are waiting for the trade, which means you have to put together 6 issues before you have any return on it for a lot of people.
Yeah, we collect both with Pretty Deadly and with Bitch Planet. We collect at 5 issues,
Okay.
Not 6. And but you know, we incentivize those single issues with what I hope is really good back matter. And it's so far it's working out well for us.
Okay, good, because I've had people pick up the trade and wonder why the stuff they've seen, the essays and other things, are not in there. And that makes sense. I mean, a lot goes into putting this together, and you guys need to eat too.
Well, yeah, and we the single issue, the people who fund the single issues are in a way kickstarting the book. And I need to say thank you to them for that. I need to say thank you to the retailers who support those single issues and putting something in the single issues that's only in the single issues that we might collect later in like a prestige hard. The most part is really just going to be in those single issues. That's the way we do it.
Okay, I will make sure to let people know. Now, you mentioned the delays that have been a problem for Bitch Planet. How are we looking for the next few? I mean, are we on track at the moment?
Well, what we're going to do is Bitch Planet Triple Feature is coming out monthly. That'll be monthly. That's our anthology series. And that's buying us some time for developing and for banking some issues so that when the 3rd volume launches, we'll be able to move a little faster.
Okay, now, Bitch Planet is coming out consistently, whereas Pretty Deadly is going in those 5-issue story arcs. Is there a reason that Bitch Planet's moving forward, but not Pretty Deadly?
Oh, Pretty Deadly. They both work in 5-issue story arcs. It's just Pretty Deadly's 5-issue story arcs are very self-contained, and we also we took a very long break between 1 and 2. 3 is in the works right now. Actually,
that is very good to hear.
Yeah, here we go. Here's some, I've got pages from 3 right here. See if I can find something cool to show you. Oh, actually, you know what? We haven't shown any of this yet because this came in.
We haven't shown anything in the later stages.
Yeah, these are the most recent.
I think we've only debuted the first spread.
Okay.
The second spread.
All right. I haven't asked Emma if I can show this, but I'm gonna risk her wrath. I'm gonna show you just a little bit of one of her pencils. This is This is the Reaper of Thirst from the third arc. I don't know how well you can see it, but there it is. And Emma's crazy tight. Really beautiful stuff.
That is beautiful. Emma really helps to make that book. I love Pretty Deadly because of not only the genre, the horror mixed with the supernatural, with some mythological and religion, but I love the idea that you can jump through time and tell any story that you want at any moment.
Yeah. Have you heard the plan for that book?
I have not.
Well, let me share it with you. All right. So the first volume is a mythological Western. It's done in the style of a Western comic set in the American West. It has an embedded storytelling style, which are the cantates, the songs with the banners. And thematically, it explores why death. The second volume takes place in World War I. It's done in the style of a war comic. It has the embedded storytelling style of the Chinese parable. It is, depending on what day you ask me, it's either why war or why luck. The third volume is done in the style of a noir comic. It's set in 1920s Hollywood. It's a murder mystery. The embedded storytelling is silent film in the style of Lottie Reniger. It's white art. The fourth volume will go back in time because it's all Americana. So the fourth volume will be the Vikings landing in North America. It's a love story. It's why love. And then the final volume will return to the main storyline and wrap up with Bunny and Butterfly. And it's in the Great Depression, and it's why hope.
Okay, so you've got the entire thing mapped out. You know where you're going. That's incredible. And it's really good to know because I enjoy reading both of your current books, but Pretty Deadly really resonated with me, and I enjoy Emma quite a bit.
She's amazing. She's really incredible. Yeah. I love that book. It's not an easy read. It's not for everybody. And I understand and appreciate that. But the people that it does connect with, that's real special to me. And then I think as far as format goes, we're just going to continue to do the collections, the paperback collections, and then at the end we're going to do like a prestige hardcover that collects all 5 and has bonus material.
That's great. You've already... Oh, no, you don't have a hardcover for Pretty Deadly yet.
No.
Okay, so we're going to wait till all 25 issues are out?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that will be quite a monster, but somebody's first time will be pretty special.
Yeah. I talked to Emma about doing it sooner, but she was like, she wants to do 1. I'm like, all right, we'll see. Maybe she'll change her mind, but right now that's what she wants to do. And our deal is I have the last word on words and she has the last word on pictures. And to me, the format stuff is really sort of falls more in her purview. We make these decisions together, but...
Of course you do, but that's kind of an interesting way of doing it. I mean, you guys obviously are collaborating. It's a 50-50 thing, but you're each relying on each other's strengths to make sure you get the best possible book you can.
Yeah, and you know, we've been working together for a really long time now, and we have kind of a shorthand, and I love and respect her enormously. So it's good. It's a good collaboration.
That is awesome.
I'm actually very lucky. My partnership with Val is also very good. I choose well. I choose my partners well. Thank you, darling.
So speaking of Val, then, you just gave people who here in Sacramento who may not have read some of your books a rundown on Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
Why don't you give them a quick spiel for Bitch Planet so we can let them know what that's about?
Okay. Bitch Planet is dystopian science fiction satire that takes place in a literal patriarchy where women who do not conform to impossible standards of femininity are labeled non-compliant. And if you are criminally non-compliant, you are shipped off-world to a prison planet that is colloquially referred to as Bitch Planet. It is a satire that satirizes, among other things, exploitation films of the 1970s, specifically the women in prison tropes. It was born out of a couple of things. It was born out of Val and I trying to figure out, like, we love that genre, we love those movies, but they're also deeply problematic, and so we're trying to figure out, like, can we do exploitation without being exploitative? And so it was like, I don't know, we'll find out, let's try. And our goal with the book has always been RoboCop. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be really over-the-top satire, like ridiculous, absurdist, mean, funny satire that has a really sentimental, almost saccharine sentimentality, actually, that grounds the characters. And we hope that with the same way it worked with RoboCop, that the two things balance each other and kind of make the other one palatable. It's not for us to judge if we've hit our mark or not. There are a lot of people who miss the fact that the book is a comedy. So that makes me wonder sometimes whether I feel like we need to keep trying. I would appreciate it if the real world would stop one-upping the satire for me, so they keep making it harder and harder for me to satirize. For you. But I need that to stop, please.
Well, I mean, it seems to have done really well in the comic book world. I mean, the non-compliance itself has become kind of a catchphrase among geeks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very much its own thing. I don't know if you remember the book Chase that J.H. Williams did with Dan Curtis Johnson, but Dan hasn't done comics in a while, but he and I have stayed in touch, and he's a real smart dude. And he said you don't get that tattoo because you're a fan of something in the book. You get that tattoo because the book is a fan of something in you. And I've repeated that so many times. I wish I had said it. But I think that nails it pretty well. It really has very little to do with the book. It's a convenient symbol for a statement someone makes about themselves, and a relationship that they have. That's basically, I don't fit in my box. I'm not broken. It's the box that's broken. And I like that. And I like, and Valentine's incredible design has a lot to do with why it has caught on the way it has too.
We just got a text through Heroic Girls, and it says, thank you, Kelly, Non-Compliance Tattoos. They simultaneously help me identify people I probably would like to meet and give me an icebreaker to start a conversation.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes my heart feel happy.
So you mentioned films with Bitch Planet. Can you give us a couple that we should watch?
Well, yeah, I can. Although I will say that none of them hold up. Well, that's not true. None of them. I am a fan of all things Meiko Kaji. And so her Women in Prison series is called Female Prisoner Number 701 Scorpion.
That is quite a title.
it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? In Japanese, I believe it was called sakura. Sasori, which is better. Sakura is like cherry blossoms, I think, and Sasori is scorpion, I believe. But anyway, I love that film, the first one.
Oh, there's multiple.
There are multiple, yes, and of course there are. It's much better than it has any right to be. So I highly recommend that. There's also there's a Jonathan Demme, Roger Corman movie that's either Caged Heat or Chained Heat. I can't remember. Somebody Google it for me. But that one is not good, but it's weird. It's sort of gloriously weird. There's The Arena is terrible. What's that?
It's Caged Heat.
Caged Heat. It's Caged Heat is the Jonathan Demme one. And there's this really fantastic. There are like these fantasy sequences, including like a dance number done in the women's bathroom it's crazy.
We do movie nights down here. Maybe we'll do an after hours Kelly Sue Bitch Planet movie night.
There you go. Do RoboCop and Caged Heat. All right,
those two. Mark it down, Ronnie.
There you go. That's your Bitch Planet.
Written and directed by Jonathan Demme.
Yeah. It's worth seeing, even though it is awful. It is totally worth seeing. And if you're gonna do if you want to do a Meiku Kaji night, do Female Prisoner Number 701 Scorpion and pair that with Lady Snowblood, which had some influence on Pretty Deadly.
Okay, now it's been a while since I've seen that one, but where did the influence come from?
And the idea of vengeance as a woman, I think, and a woman being born to that role. And I saw it not too long ago. I went and watched it. The Northwest the Portland Art Museum has a movie theater associated with it, and our intern's taking off for the day. Bye, Turner.
Bye. Interner.
I can't remember the name of the theater, but anyway, at the movie theater, they do a lot of revival stuff, and they show a lot of old films, and so we went to see Lady Snowblood on the big screen, and I was surprised. It had been a long time since I'd seen it, and I was surprised how much of it, like even shots, like have made their way into various pieces of my work. That movie, for whatever reason, I'm crazy fond of.
That's interesting. Okay, so it was just in the back of your mind and just came out when you were writing.
Yeah, some of it was deliberate, but some of it wasn't.
So now that we're on the topic of influences, what are your influences, whether it be novels, comic books? We've already hit the movie side of it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, like Leone Westerns are big for me. The dialogue between 8.5 and All That Jazz is probably one of the art conversations that I think about more than anything else. I'm very obviously interested in gender and culture, and what the way women are defined and confined by those definitions. And then the anger that arises out of those limitations is always in present on some level in my work. I like my superheroes to come with a heavy dose of hope. I like upbeat superhero stuff. Even writing, I mean, I think I have a lot of interest in journalism and the heroism of journalists, the bravery of journalists. And that was very present in Osborne, Evil Incarcerated. It was very present in Ghost. One of my favorite DC character is Lois Lane, which is really all about the spirit of journalism. I like my heroes to be heroes, I'm not super into dark superheroes. So
we can leave the 90s where the 90s are.
Yeah. I mean, it's great if you're like, I don't know. For me, it's kind of adolescent stuff. But whatever. Whatever you're into is fine. It's just not my jam.
Nope, that is fair.
What else am I interested in? Snake, what else am I interested in? I like flight. I like to write about flight.
Glitter.
Metaphors of flight. Glitter. Thank you. Glitter lipstick. Caftans. I love caftans. Shoes. Shut up. No, like in my work, dummy.
Now, are there any comics that you are reading at the moment? Because I've actually talked to some people and they say they like to distance themselves when they're writing and not be influenced by anything. Is there anything that you're currently reading?
So all of my reading right now is research. So I'm behind on almost all my comics. Although I did bring home a couple things from Heroes Con that I'm excited about. I took pictures of a couple of them. Where did those go? Here we go. Here's one. I'm psyched to check this out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this is called Ajala. I don't know if it's Ayala. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But gentleman who drew this, I believe, is the same guy that did Watson and Holmes. It looks fantastic. So I'm psyched to give it a read. And obviously my husband's stuff. We have a lot of friends here in Portland that are in the industry. I try to keep up. I'm desperately behind right now. Like I said, I'm mostly reading research material and like nonfiction. Thinking Fast and Slow is one I'm reading right now, and The Knowledge Illusion I'm reading right now. I'm kind of obsessed with Matilda. I've been reading with my daughter. This just came in the mail today because I interviewed a futurist for the back of Bitch Planet, and he recommended it. The Futures of Women. It's 4 scenarios of I'm not even entirely sure, but I'm going to find out.
So yeah, you definitely have a lot on your plate. I mean, outside of your normal job and all of this extra research.
Oh yeah, I do. So I write theoretically 3 comics. Only 2 of them are coming out right now. But I have another project with Bill Sienkiewicz that will happen at some point.
I was actually going to ask you about that because it's Parisian Nights, right? Or White.
Parisian White.
Or White.
Yeah.
Because that was announced back in 2015, I believe.
Yeah. So neither Bill nor I are what you call speedy. Yeah, so we'll see.
So this is in production though, because Bill has actually shown us some pages.
Yeah, yep.
So is there any kind of idea?
There's a script. There are some pages, and we'll see.
Right, it'll come out when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean it's Bill Sienkiewicz, and like, who am I kidding? I'll wait forever. I don't care. It's Bill Sienkiewicz. It's going to be incredible.
That is fair.
So,
that's very fair.
Yeah, he's brilliant and he's wonderful, and I adore him. So I will wait. And I am not particularly fast. Don't get me wrong. I was late delivering the script, so it is a shared responsibility. So I have those 2 comics. We have a television contract, so I shot 1 pilot this year. I'm working on another pilot script.
Now this is all with the milk-fed criminal masterminds, right?
That's right. Yes.
Which I have to know, how did that name come about?
Oh, my son, when he was born, we did one of those Mysterioso Predicts t-shirt things. So like it's a t-shirt that comes in a blind bag. Actually it was a t-shirt or a onesie. I can't even remember, but you open it up and then it makes a prediction about what the kid's going to do for their future career. And Henry Leo's said, criminal mastermind. And then Matt decided milk-fed criminal mastermind was Henry Leo's, MC handle. And so we just thought that was hilarious. And so that became the name of our business.
And then just ran with it. You said did you say you finished the pilot?
Yes. We,
Can you tell us which one that was for?
Yeah, it was a project that was called Redliners. It did not end up getting picked up. It was for NBC. And I got to work with Sean Cassidy and Jason Ensler, and I learned a tremendous amount working on it, and loved everyone that I worked with. It didn't get picked up. It happens. It was not time wasted. So I'll look forward to the next one now.
Are you currently talking to anybody about one of the properties that you guys have? Because not only do you have both yours and Matt's, but you guys are also representing like people like Gillen and McKelvey with like Wicked and Divine, correct?
We optioned Wicked and Divine, yeah. So cool. That is currently in development. Yeah, there's nothing really I can tell you. There's nothing I can tell you specifically. But yeah, there are projects in development.
Okay, so it's being worked on, and we just have to wait for you to hear something so you can tell us.
Yes, sadly, yes.
Okay, now, then without telling me any of that, obviously, how much of your time does this milk-fed take up?
Well, I mean, milk-fed is everything. Milk-fed is also the comic books. So milk-fed is my 40-plus hours a week job. And then I also have a Girl Scout troop, and I'm a mom, and I take viola lessons, and our whole family takes taekwondo, and we try to have a life, and we try to do conventions and travel. I think I may take next year off of conventions, though.
I think you'd said that recently.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I will probably, if I do that, I will probably still do Heroes Con, because Shelton is just like family. But other than that, my kids are, my daughter in particular is not happy with the amount of travel that I've done. So we may take some time just to recharge a little bit. And there's a little bit of, it's hard to explain this, but like I'm getting sick of the sound of my own voice, and I just feel like I need to listen a little bit. And I get envious of artists who just put the work out and don't really talk about it. I feel like I have to I feel like well, I mean, it's not, I'm also very much a people person, and I'm legitimately an extrovert, but there is a point where you're sort of like, oh, I don't know, just read it. You know?
Well, then maybe a year off might be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Spend some time with the family. And speaking of them, we have quite a few questions from our viewers. We're not going to be able to get to them all, but I want to hit a few.
Speaking of
okay, let's do it.
Patty Marcotte says, "Hi, Kelly. With you and Matt both being writers, what kind of influence do you have on what your kids read?" And she's a mother of two.
Yeah, my mom did not police my reading, and I really appreciate that. And I don't think I was, we don't police their reading at all. And we like to know what they're reading. Like I said, Tallulah and I do a lot of reading together. She's really into the Clementine books, and we've been reading Roald Dahl's Matilda lately, and Henry loves comics, and Henry loves Predator comics. Like that is his jam. He also loves Captain Marvel, though. He also loves Avengers Assemble. He has a lot of questions about the Flurkin, which is really funny to me. He loves Guardians of the Galaxy. He loves Gorilla Grodd. That was a thing. Trying to find some Gorilla Grodd that we thought he would enjoy was a trip, because he got really fascinated with the character. That's mostly, he reads mostly comic books, honestly, but he reads voraciously. So
now, are these things that you have introduced them to, or are these things that they just gravitate towards?
Well, the Avengers Assemble, he found at his aftercare program, like in their library, and he really liked the cover of the issue, and then realized that I had written it. And that was maybe the coolest thing that has ever happened to me as a mom.
That's sweet.
All right, well, here, let's hit another one here. Katie Asaro wants to know what is up with the series of photos of you in the Portland airport showing your shoes.
That's not just me, actually, Katie. If you hashtag search on Instagram, PDX carpet, it's just a thing. I don't know who started it, but it is a thing here in Portland. We all take pictures of our feet on the carpet. And I travel so much that it's really funny to me. I don't always even remember to do it. But it's kind of a, like, when I look back on this year, I'll be able to see how often I was in that airport. But yeah, it's just a fun, quirky Portland thing. We're weirdos out here.
We've actually got a couple about the future of comic books, but I like the way this one's phrased. Can you finish this sentence for us? The future of comics is...
Bright.
There we're back to hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Okay.
So you actually mentioned this earlier. You know, you said you read Matt's stuff. Somebody wants to know, do you and Matt both bounce stuff off of each other when you're writing, or even help with the editing sometimes when you're going farther?
No, I do not help with the editing. No, but we do bounce things off of each other. usually tends to be, I ask him craft questions and he asks me taste questions, is generally the way that goes. But more often than not, it's, have you ever heard the phrase, talk to the duck?
I have not.
Okay, so it's an apocryphal story, I think, but the story goes like this. There's this guy that's got he works in computer programming, and he's a supervisor, and younger guys and gals come in to ask him questions. I just completely distracted myself with my gender binary there, but anyway, folks come in to ask him questions, and they interrupt his work, and he finds it really irritating that they interrupt him, and more often than not, they figure out the answer to their question all by themselves just in asking the question. And so he tells them, he has a duck decoy in his outer office, and he says, before you can interrupt his work to ask him a question, you have to pose your question to the duck. So you got to talk to the duck before you can talk to him. And so a lot of times when Matt and I when one of us will get up and go in the other one's office to ask them a question, we'll say, we're just talking to the duck. Really, we figure out what we need to know in the asking of the question, but something about the act of having to articulate it, we get the answer out, and the other person doesn't really have to do anything but listen.
No, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We're not going to be able to get to all of these guys, and I apologize. We're going to do at least 2 more here. This one is a lot of fun. If they made an action figure of you, Kelly, what would be the accessory they include in your box?
What would be the accessory that came in my box? I don't know. Let's see. I have a. I don't know if I should if I should admit this. I have a switchblade that Greg Rucka gave me that I refer to as my fidget spinner, because I love to open and close that blade. That might be.
I do that with my K-bar, so.
Yeah, there you go. This is my fidget spinner.
That's a pretty awesome accessory, actually. Tony Asaro would like to know about how you got involved with the Valkyries, because although you're not evidently an official, leader of it, you host a lot of breakfasts and do other things at cons, correct?
Yeah, I am absolutely not. I am an honorary Valkyrie. But Kate Leth started that organization, and she used to work in a comic book store. I never did that. And I just thought.
I forgot to tell people who don't know what they are, what it is. Will you tell people what Valkyries are real quick?
Oh, you want me to? Okay. The Valkyries are an organization of women who work in comic book stores or own comic book stores. It's like a businesswoman's association for comics. And businesswomen's associations are not rare. They're it's interesting to me. I've gotten together with other women in comics about starting a formal businesswomen's association before, but we've never managed to do it. But yeah, the Valkyries is like a lovely organization of women who work in comic book stores or own comic book stores and work together to support each other. And yeah, and I am certainly not the only creator. I think Gail and I are honorary Valkyries. Gail Simone and I, there may be others, but I know Gail and I are. But we are really just try to support them, and to and also to make use of this incredibly smart network of women. Like it's as a creator, here is a organization of your buyers, and the people who are going to hand sell your books. And I think you'd be wise to listen to them and find out what they need and what they want and what would be helpful to them and what are the support materials that they need to get your books in the right hands. You know, they are savvy ladies, and I am all about that.
Great, that is awesome. We're going to be wrapping up in just a couple here. Sorry again, everybody, we couldn't get to them all. There were a lot of questions for you, Kelly. But one thing I'd like to ask you personally is, what can you give as far as advice goes to somebody who is a potential writer or somebody who wants to get into this industry? Is there anything that you can say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you two pieces of advice. One is, if you want to do it, do it. Don't think about doing it, start, because your first books are going to suck. And there's no way around that. And you can't get to the good ones until you get the garbage ones out of the way first. And that is just the reality of it. And it's when you take an idea out of your head and you put it on paper, this process makes it less perfect. Once it's outside of your head, you can see all of the mistakes, and that's humbling and it's a bummer. But if you die with your idea on paper, you're a writer. If you die with your idea in your head, you're a dreamer. Pick one. I would rather have an imperfect book than a perfect idea. So make the mistakes, start. And if you need a way to start, and if you're like, but I don't have a writer. I mean, I don't have an artist, and I don't blah, 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 excuse. Take your favorite comic book and reverse engineer it. Write the script that would have produced that issue. This is an exercise that Matt came up with, that he has done himself, and he recommends it to people all the time. So I'm not taking credit for this. This is Fraction's idea, but there is a thing you could start tonight. So quit talking about it, quit thinking about it, quit buying notebooks, and write.
All right, that is perfect. And in fact, I'm glad that that's what you went with, because I talked to a lot of people here in Sacramento. We've got a local wall. There are a lot of people creating, and there's a lot of people who want to be on that wall, but they're afraid to put out that imperfect piece. They want it to go to paper as, this genius work. And the fact that you're telling them it's not going to be that way and you're going to get better just by doing it, I think is pretty inspirational.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very few people who their first works are brilliant, and we don't like those people. So you don't want to be those people anyway. But yeah, I mean, start a new creators club at your comic store. Ask if you can set up a table in the shop, every other Thursday night, and get together and talk about your books or work on your books or sketch or whatever. Meet other people who are doing it, so you have somebody to be to answer to. Just you can talk about it forever. And the older you get, the faster time moves. So
unfortunately, that is true. Yes. Well, thank you very much for Kelly. As much as I would love to keep talking to you, I know that you are very busy, and I appreciate you taking this hour out to talk to us, everyone here in Sacramento. And, one of these days, I'm going to keep pushing. We're going to get you down here in the shop.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kelly. And thank you to everyone who gave us all these questions, who interacted with us. We'll save them. We'll try and get her back on here again later and finish out all of those. So thank you guys. And again, thank you, Kelly.
Oh, you're very welcome. Bye-bye, guys.